Hey guys, so the last time we talked about Abraham, oh, good grief. Uh, where were we? Oh, the three visitors that came. Now Sarah laughed and they said, "Is anything too hard for the Lord?" And they kept promising that God's going to give them a baby. All right, so then when the men got up to leave, they looked down toward Sodom, and Abraham walked along with them. Then the Lord said, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I'm about to do? All right, for I have chosen Abraham." Then he talked about the Lord said the outcry against Sodom is great. I'm going to go down to see if they're as bad as everybody says they are, which doesn't make a lot of sense because God's everywhere. So I'm not sure. I love things like that in the Bible, but God's going to go down and he's going to, I guess since he's there's three guys, right? I think two of them are angels, one of them's the Lord. So they're going to walk down and they're going to see, they're just going to check out Sodom. Okay, so the men turned away. They went toward Sodom, and Abraham remained. Then Abraham, somehow he knew what was going to happen. He approached him and he said to the Lord, he's having this conversation with the Lord, "Will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked?" Now, why would Abraham care about Sodom? Does anybody remember there's somebody that lives close to Sodom? Remember what his name was? It was Abraham's nephew. So he cares because he knows his nephew lives there, right? So he asked the Lord, "Will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked?" So it's like there's a town that's really, really bad, but there's some good people in it. It would be right of you, God, to kill some good people, right? Because you're a good God and they're good people. So that doesn't make sense. So he just kind of Abraham starts having this conversation with God. And he says, "Well, what if there's 50 righteous people? Will you sweep away all of them and not spare the city, the place, for the sake of the 50 righteous people?" And God says, "Far be it for me." The Lord said, "If I find 50 righteous people in the city, I will spare the whole place." Then Abraham spoke up and he's like, "Well, let's see. There's Lot, his wife, and 2 kids. That's 4, or maybe they got husbands. His girls have some husbands. Might be 50's a pretty high number. Maybe I should have started lower." That's not exactly what he says, but then Abraham spoke up again. He says, "Now that I have been so bold to speak to you, Lord, what if the number is the righteous is 5 less than 50? Once again, the Lord said, "I will not destroy it." What if there's only 40? They go back and forth. Once again, "I will not destroy it." What if there's 30? He answered, "I will not do it if I find 30 there." Abraham said, "Now that I have been so bold to speak to the Lord, what if there's only 20? And then God said again, "For the sake of 20, I will not destroy it." Abraham finally gets down, "For the sake of 10. But if there's just 10? And God says, "I will not destroy it if there's 10. Then the conversation was over, and basically he realized that there weren't even 10 righteous people in the whole town, right? So, but God is good. He's not going to, before he destroys the city, he's going to send somebody to help Lot, all right? So, 2 angels arrived in Sodom, and they went in, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city. When he saw them, he got up to meet them, and he tried to get them to come to his house. And they said, "No, we're going to spend the night in the square." And all the men in the city saw these angels. They thought they were really good looking, and these men were so evil that they liked men better than they liked girls. And they came to the Lot's house, and they said, knocked on the door and said, "Let the guy get these guys out here because we want to have sex with the guys, the angels. And if you don't let us have them, we're going to break the door down." So see how they're kind of really messed up in the head, that they're very sinful. They don't do things right. Yeah, enough of that. So Lot went went outside to meet the men, and he said to them, "Please don't do this thing," because Lot had invited the men into his house. The angels. He says, "Please don't do this thing." He said, "I've got some daughters. You can do what you want with them." And these guys were so messed up and so sinful. They're like, "No, we want them in. All right, and if you don't let us in, we're going to break the door down." So the angels reached out and they grabbed Lot and pulled him back inside. And then the angels struck all the men with blindness so that they couldn't find the door. All right, and the two men said to Lot, "Do you have anyone else here, sons-in-laws, sons, daughters, anyone else in the city who belongs to you? Get them out of here, because we are going to destroy this place." All right. So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-laws and his daughters, and he said, "Hurry, let's get out of this place." When the coming of the morning came, the angels urged Lot, saying, "You got to hurry, take your wife, you got to get out of here." He kept hesitating and kept hesitating, and finally the angels grabbed him by the hand, and they took him out, and they said, "Flee for your lives, do not look back, and don't stop anywhere." So they were not supposed to look back. Alright, so they started running, and Lot said, "I don't want to go out into the desert, please let me go to the city." So they let him go to the city, and then the Lord started raining down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah, and it was burning up. And the city's entire it was burning up, and all the vegetation was burning up. But Lot's wife looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. So she didn't do what the angel said, and she turned into salt. So then God saved Lot, and then Abraham did it again. There was another king. He went into his nation and said, "Sarah's my wife." So the king, anyway, somebody's coming in. All done. We'll talk to you later. So the king saw Sarah, thought she was hot, she was sweet, pretty. Abraham said that she is my sister. Then Abimelech, king, sent for her, and she took her. And then he had, he's going to make her his wife. And then he had this dream. And in the dream it said, "You are as good as dead, because the woman you have taken, she is a married woman." And so now Abimelech didn't go near her, didn't touch her. And he got mad, and he prayed and said, "Lord, are you going to destroy me? I'm innocent. I didn't know she's married. And I did this with a clear conscience. I thought she was just really pretty. I was going to make her my wife. I didn't know she's already married." And God said, "Well, return the man's wife." So he returned him. And when he did, he's pretty ticked off. He summoned his officials. He said, "What have you done to us, Abraham?" He said, "What have I ever done to you? What have I ever done? How have I ever wronged you?" And Abraham replied, "I said to myself, surely you're going to kill me because my wife's very beautiful. And she really is my sister, the daughter of my father, though not the daughter of my mother." So Abimelech gave him sheep, cows, slaves, male and female slaves, and he said, "The land is before you, go live wherever you want to." Gave him 1,000 shekels of silver. Then Abraham prayed to the Lord, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and all of his slave girls. All of them had been sick and couldn't have kids. So that's the end of the story.